not to get too medically technical here, but Kevin Durant was said to have had, according to Golden State's press releases, a calf strain, right? So I'm going to have to accept that he had a calf strain. That's what they believed, and that's what they told the public.
Hold on, Skip. Skip, since when do you start accepting what teams say? That's not the Skip Bayless I know.
That's my premise to start with. And again, for those who don't know, the calf has two muscles in it. The gastrocs, the big one, the soleus is the little one, right? And they meld into the Achilles tendon at the body. They kind of narrow and meld into the Achilles. And occasionally, any Game 5 in Toronto, he looked sensational. He was explosive. He was firing into his jumper. He was pushing off and dunking. And we saw him in the game. Didn't he look 100% healthy as far as a calf strain would go? Okay, but the Achilles was hanging to me by a thread. It was on the thinnest of ice. And one move, one crossover step, and it went. Okay, well, number 2 in San Antonio wasn't hanging by a thread. He had a thigh bruise. There was no risk of rupturing his quadriceps tendon like Tony Parker did. So I'm sorry. It's an apple to a rotten orange. That's what it is. This was an apple. This was the worst. So, look. Okay, let me just throw this back at you. Okay. If, in fact, number 2 is the smartest player ever, that he's the one who stands up to organizations and says no. He took off 22 games this year because I'm not right. Well, was he right against Milwaukee in the conference finals? You kept telling me he's playing hurt. He's playing hurt. I heard it that day, like 8 straight days right here. Okay, if he was playing hurt, we saw him limping against Milwaukee. Why did he not shut it down then? Because he's risking next year's free agency. Just shut it down. If you think, and finally, I thought it was his quad, it was his knee. So if you're in danger of rupturing your ACL, let's say, why don't you just say I can't go? Because he said he can't go in San Antonio, right?
Skip, no, you and I both know there's a difference between tendonitis and the potential to having an ACL tear. And what had happened is that because he had overcompensated for his right quad, he had put so much stress and strain on the left knee, now he had tendonitis in the left knee. Skip, see, what bothers me is that Steve Kerr said the doctors told him, or it was relayed to him, that he couldn't hurt the whatever the injury was, he couldn't make it worse. Isn't that what the Boston Celtics doctors told Isaiah Thomas with his hip? That he couldn't hurt it any worse? After he went out there, dropped 53 on the night that his sister died tragically because he was playing for his brothers? You see, what got Kevin Durant is the very thing that you say about Kawhi Leonard. He quit on his team. The one thing, Skip Bayless, you covered sports for 40 plus years. You know the one thing that you can never say to an athlete is what? He quit. You can never say that.
Number 2 quit on my San Antonio Spurs. I'm going to say it again. He just flat out quit.
And Skip, you're making my point. And because Kevin Durant did not want to be labeled as the guy that quit on his team, that quit on his brothers, after they flew to the Hamptons, interrupted his vacation, they appealed to that side of you, Skip. Man, this is how they do it, Skip. A 70% of Kevin Durant is better than 98% of the NBA players. Yeah, that might be the case, but a 70% healed Achilles tendon has a greater propensity to rupture than 100% healed Achilles.
Again.
So, Skip Bayless, you know this.
I am with you on Kevin Durant, but you cannot bring the other guy into this equation because he does not qualify for this equation.
Yes, he does.
He does not. Okay, then you're not answering my question. You keep changing the subject.
What's the question?
Why doesn't number 2 shut it down right now? Why didn't he just say, I can't play game 6 because my knee hurts? Every time he has any kind of ache or pain, he shuts it down. That's what he did. Listen, I watched him carefully for 7 years in San Antonio. He was constantly hurt. He constantly had a calf or a quad or a shoulder or an elbow or a hand or an ankle. He was constantly hurt. The most minor ache or pain, he shut it down. Why doesn't he shut it down right now? Because he's exaggerating his injury to plant excuses in the minds of the media and especially Shannon Sharp. That's what's happening. Excuses are being planted.
Let me answer your question. You and I both know, Skip, tendonitis is different than a partial tear of the Achilles. You and I both know that tendonitis is something that if you get it warm and you keep it warm, you can be okay. It's when you sit down or you get into a position that it starts to ache. You know that overcompensation on one body part will lead to a stress and strain on another body part. You understand that, Skip.
So you're admitting, you're admitting to me that tendonitis or tendinosis, not that big a deal. You warm it up, you play through it. Obviously, that's the case. Yeah. So why did he shut it down for 73 games in San Antonio with tendonitis, basically? And I'm not even going to give him that.
Because, Skip, he felt that it was far more than he could push through. He's pushing through this. And all you had to do was take the guy at his word. And first of all, take the guy at his word and give him a max contract. If you don't think he's a max player, why are you even concerned whether or not he shuts it down or not? You should be wanting to rid yourself of him. He's not a max player. He's not tough. He quit on your team. So why all of a sudden was Greg Popovich wanting to fly to San Diego? Why was all this hullabaloo?
Obviously, he's a really good player. And he'd been a good player for them. He'd been a finals MVP. But he became more trouble than he's worth. I'm good riddance. I'm happy he's gone. I don't need him anymore because you can't count on him.
And the yes, you can. Oh, you can count on him. You can depend on him like the first and the 15th.
Those last 3 minutes and 28 seconds of Game 5 the other night in his new house in Toronto, could you count on him? Nope, he disappeared.
I tell you what, Skip,
right on schedule. Can't count on him.
I bet you 5 cases will do. He will hold the Bill Russell Finals MVP trophy when it's all said and done.
Well, he's going to be the first one to get it for a losing team?
No. First of all, he wasn't the first one. Jerry West did that the first year it was established in 1969.
Like Chuck
but
Howley
that's not going to happen.
My Cowboys once upon a time for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And Akeem Olajuwon was most outstanding player in a losing effort also.
That's true.
But that's not the
so
here.
He's going
We're
to
not
join
talking
Jerry
about
West
that, Skip
Akeem, I guess, right?
No, he's not. No, he's not.
You're going to have to
you know what's going to happen,
where
Skip.
your mouth is tomorrow.
Skip, this is your worst nightmare.
It is not my worst nightmare. He was my worst nightmare in San Antonio, and he's gone. Thank God he's gone.
Skip, you believe that the man quit on your roster and forced his way out of San Antonio. You mean to tell me you're going to sit back and take this? A guy wins goals. You said crime pays. So he sat down on your team, forced his way out, goes to another team. They sent him as far away from where he wanted to go as you could possibly get. Toronto is so far away from LA, the Lakers, or the Clippers, you can barely find it on the map.
True.
He goes to Toronto and he wins a title. He's Finals MVP. And you mean to tell me the Skip Bayless that I've known very, very well for the last 3 years is going to sit down and take this? Okay.
Okay.
No, you're going to be very upset.
I'm not going to be very upset. I've told you all along, you can root for him all you want to. You can leap on his bandwagon and drive it after you picked the Golden State Warriors to win this in 6 games, and you're already defunct in your first pick. Now you're picking Toronto, I guess in 6, though we're going to have to bet like 4 cases of Diet Mountain Dew just on Game 6, but you wouldn't take that bet yesterday. It still sits right in the middle of the table if you want to claim it right here, right now.
Yeah, we're gonna make the pick tomorrow.
Okay, we're going to do it tomorrow, but I'm going to sum up Kevin Durant. All I know is I'm on your side with this. Did he know he had an Achilles pre-existing issue? Did he know something was going on with his Achilles? Because if he did, then he accepted the risk and he took one for the team. He said, they need me, we're down 3-1. Obviously, the situation in San Antonio was nothing like this right now with the desperation that they were in Game 5. And I admire Kevin for saying, I'm going to try to do this for my team. Again, he paid the ultimate price for it, not with his life, but with his basketball life, obviously. But now it's intriguing to me that he has just dismissed the Golden State doctors and he went back to Marty O'Malley, doctor in New York, who's very well known, and he's done a lot of surgeries on he did Joel Embiid, and he did Ben Simmons, a lot of the big NBA stars, but he did Kevin's, remember his Jones fracture surgery that he had in 2015?
Yes.
He had 3 surgeries, and the third one was Marty O'Malley in New York, and he nailed it. took a little piece of his pelvis and put it in his foot and bone grafted and saved his career. I thought his career was in jeopardy. So now he's gone to Marty O'Malley, who, by the way, happens to be the Nets team doctor, but that probably doesn't play in this. You never know. But the point is, he's not using the Golden State doctors anymore. So he's gone outside, and I think that's a bad sign for Golden State.
Gentlemen, we got to leave this one here. Let me point out, KD does turn 31 in September. So we may know more out of New York about the injury and the timetable to return later today. Certainly, this injury has a lot of ripple effects, including on free agency and perhaps on that trade situation down in New Orleans. Speaking of which, are the Knicks out of the Anthony Davis sweepstakes? We're going to be discussing that up next. And don't forget to check us out every day on the Fox Sports Channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back.